The day my wife sat me down to talk, I knew something was wrong. Her hands trembled, and she couldn't even look me in the eye. I thought maybe she was sick or had lost her job, but what came out of her mouth shattered me into pieces. She told me she was pregnant, but then added words I never expected to hear: the child wasn't mine. At first, I thought I had misheard. We'd been together for years, and I trusted her completely. But she repeated it slowly, as if to make sure I understood every syllable. The baby was her boss's. She had been having an affair at work for months, sneaking around behind my back while I worked long hours to provide for us. I asked her why she was even telling me. She could have lied, and I might never have known. That's when she dropped another bomb. She wanted me to raise the baby as my own. She said her boss wasn't going to leave his wife and family, so the logical solution was for me to step up and take responsibility. My stomach turned at her words. I looked at the woman I once adored and barely recognized her. She wasn't the same person I had married. Instead of apologizing, she was bargaining, as if I was supposed to clean up the mess she had created. She even had the nerve to say, "But you've always wanted to be a dad, right? This is your chance." That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, replaying every moment of our marriage in my head. How long had she been lying to me? How many times had she smiled in my face while secretly texting him under the table? My love for her felt like it had been poisoned beyond repair. When I confronted her the next morning, she turned defensive. She claimed it was just a mistake and begged me not to throw our marriage away. But it wasn't a mistake, it was a choice she made over and over again. She expected me to be her safety net after betraying me in the worst way possible. I told her I wanted a divorce. She broke down crying, swearing she could change, swearing she loved me. But I didn't believe her anymore. Love isn't supposed to feel like betrayal. It isn't supposed to come with ultimatums about raising another man's child. When my family heard about it, they were furious for me. My mother said she always felt something was off about her, but I hadn't listened. My friends tried to convince me I deserved better, and deep down, I knew they were right. Still, I felt humiliated, like my entire marriage had been a lie. The divorce process was ugly. She tried to guilt me, saying she couldn't handle being a single mother. At one point, she even asked me to reconsider, telling me I'd regret it when I was older and alone. But I held my ground. I wasn't going to raise another man's child while pretending everything was fine. Her boss, of course, stayed silent through it all. He didn't leave his wife. He didn't step up. He let her burn her marriage to the ground while he continued living comfortably. That alone showed me how foolish her choices had been, but that was her burden to carry, not mine. When the papers were signed, I felt a strange mixture of grief and relief. I mourned the life I thought I had, but I also felt free from the lies. I no longer had to play the role of the clueless husband. I could finally start over, even if it meant walking away with scars. Months passed, and I began focusing on myself. I reconnected with friends, picked up old hobbies, and started building a new routine. The pain was still there, but it didn't control me anymore. Slowly, I realized I wasn't broken. I had just been betrayed. And betrayal says more about the betrayer than the betrayed. My ex-wife occasionally tried to reach out, especially as her pregnancy advanced. She wanted sympathy, maybe even a second chance. But I ignored her messages. She had made her choices, and I had made mine. There was no going back to the way things were. In the end, I learned one of the hardest lessons of my life. Love without respect is nothing. No matter how much history you share, if someone can look you in the eye while betraying you, then they don't deserve your loyalty. Divorce wasn't the ending I wanted, but it was the freedom I needed. And so, I walked away, not as the man who was tricked into raising another man's child, but as the man who refused to live a lie.